one of the things that Christians do that kind of messes up their relationships with people and messes up the things that they do in their life is we worry. Does anybody here worry? We worry, don't we? And sometimes when we sit back and look at the things we worry, sometimes we go, holy cow, why am I worrying about stuff like that? I want to start off, first of all, with a psalm from a Psalm of David, Psalm 34:4. Look at this verse for just a minute. Two more slides. Go right there. Okay. Look what David said. I want you to pay attention to this. He said, I prayed to the Lord, and He answered me. Now, we talk a lot about the fact that prayers aren't always answered the way we expect them. You pray for this and this happens, or you pray for a new job and it doesn't happen. And can I tell you something? This is one prayer I know will always be answered the way you think it will be answered if you think that God will answer it. Hang with me for just a second. Look what he says. I prayed to the Lord and He answered me. He freed me from all my fears. Can I just tell you that is a prayer that will always be answered the way you expect it to be answered. If you expect God to free you from your fears. See, we struggle with a lot of different things. We've got fears about communicating and with people and relationships with people, and we have fears about our security and the stuff that we own, and we have fears about you just name it. What were you laying in bed thinking about last night? We have these things that we just work through and fear and deal with all the time. But what I found is during the rest of the time, if I'm laying in bed at night and I'm stressing out, and I do that, like we all do. If I will take my focus off of what I'm stressing at and start focusing on God, I'm not talking about begging God. I'm not talking about begging God. I'm talking about focusing on God for who God is and realizing that this thing I'm going through right now is something that God is going to take. Like Rachel, the Romans 8:28 minute ago, He's going to take that situation and He's going to use it for the good of those who what? There's another word. Believe. If you believe, God's going to take that and He's going to use it and you're going to see it and you can have this whatever attitude. But we're so fearful of things. I remember when Nick was little, there were a few things my kids thought when they were small. One is they thought I knew the words to every song. Because we'd be going down the car on the radio, you'd listen to the radio, and they just, boy, Dad, do you know every song? And they also thought I knew every language. I mean, I could speak Russian and German and Spanish and, all of those because I just have to jabber a little bit and told the kids I was speaking Russian. And they'd say, wow, Dad. And the kids, they thought I was so strong and they thought I could do so many things and that I was never afraid of anything. And I was having a conversation with Nick one time and he said, Dad, are you afraid of anything? He said, Dad, are you afraid of bugs? And I said, no, no, Nick, I'm not afraid of bugs. And he goes, well, are you afraid I get afraid sometimes that a robber's going to come in the house. He said, are you afraid that a robber's going to come in the house? And I said, no, Nick, I'm not afraid of that. You don't have to worry about that. And he asked me a couple other things, and I just followed that up with, no, Nick, that's not something you don't have to worry about. I'm not fearful about that. And he sat there and thought a minute. He goes, so the only thing you're afraid of is Mama. See, we have these fears. Let's look at this verse again. Let's look at this Psalm 34:4 verse again. He says, I prayed to the Lord. Now it's important, circle Lord. Because the question, if this is going to work, the question is Jesus Lord? That's the question. You ask people, well, what does it mean to be a Christian? Well, Jesus is my Lord. Is He? Is He your Lord, or is your income your Lord, or is your popularity your Lord, or what? Those are the things that you become slave to. You've got to ask, Is Jesus my Lord? So if you want this prayer answered, which it will be answered, the first question you've got to answer for yourself is Jesus Lord? Do I have an attitude with Him of you are Lord and whatever, Lord, you're Lord? And He answered me. He freed me from my fears. That sounds like we're trapped, doesn't it? It sounds like we're prisoners. And we are if we let things get to us. Because what happens is the deceiver, the devil, the evil one, the liar, he wants you to believe that there are other things greater than God.